Hello everyone and welcome to Harv's World for another episode of Pirates Bay Farm. And yes, I'm down at the industrial sector or the industrial area, because I just wanted to check. I've been thinking about this a lot. I've been kind of making a plan, writing some stuff down, figuring it out. And man, is this ever going to be an expensive venture. Very expensive, in fact. But before we get to that, I would like to say welcome to Vagantis Curticlis, Adam Smith, Marshall Jeep II, Feisty, Rickus Lombard Concept, Joe Ton Milk, TG Sweden, Will's Farm Life, Kevin DeMello, Mouse 2222, and Kathy. Welcome to Harv's World, everyone. Welcome. I hope you're enjoying what you see. Thank you for being here. So as I said, we're going to get that rum made. It's going to get made, but it's going to be very, very expensive. But I did want to show you that, yes, we've now got a sign in the industrial area, Pirates Bay Industries. Everybody's going to know that this is the new industrial force to be reckoned with, as you can see. Oh, wait, maybe not yet, but still. So we're talking over $1 million just to get started here. The sawmill alone is going to cost $450,000. I need to create a pallet production plant. I need to create a barrel production plant, and I'm going to need a distillery. All of that's going to come to a whopping $1,050,000. Oh yes. And you can see I've put up another sign right here on the main road. Everyone who passes by is going to know that Pirates Bay Farm is operating. Pirates Bay Industries will be operating right here. So yeah, $1,050,000, and that's not counting. I mean, that's just for the factories. That's just for the factories. That doesn't count what I have to do to process the goods that go into those factories. I'm going to need, I've got all those trees planted, but they're not going to harvest themselves, so I'm going to have to find a way to harvest those trees and get them down here to the sawmill, get them processed. I'm going to need equipment to transport goods across the various different industries. And more importantly, without sugarcane, we have no rum. So I need sugarcane equipment. And that is not cheap either. Now, I am coming down here to the port because I want to check in with the customs office and find out what the deal is with the Fent. So I'm going to run in here real quick. I'm going to talk to these guys and see what they can do for me. Be right back. Well, after some lengthy discussion, I think I've gotten them to see reason. I hope I've gotten them to see reason. I really hope so, because that was not a cheap discussion. Let me put it this way. I gave them 10,000 reasons to reconsider keeping the Fent off the island. Now, talking to Lisbeth last night, she kind of impressed upon me the need to provide some, let's call it, financial influence. It's been a custom here for a long time, and just because the government has changed doesn't necessarily mean that some of the old ways have changed. So I took a nifty little envelope out of my pocket, slid it across the desk, told the gentleman I was speaking with that I hoped his daughter had a lovely time at the dance that's upcoming at her school, and thought this might help. You can't ever say the word bribe. It's a donation, it's a gift, it's whatever you want to call it, but you never outright say it. So anyway, keeping my fingers crossed, he seemed to indicate that he was very grateful for the gift, and that he felt like the Fent just might make its way onto the island in a few days. I've had that Fent forever. I had it in Scotland at Dalton Valley. I had it in Italy, dealing with Mrs. Van Horn on Ischia. And I really want to get that Fent here. It's going to be a big help to me on this farm. And since I know that particular little secret at this point, maybe it will help get some of the bigger equipment that I need, because like I said, this is no small venture I'm undertaking to get this rum built. I feel like I missed a turn, but I guess I just haven't got to the road yet. But it's important to me. It's my goal. It's what I want to do. Farming is great. I enjoy the farming, but I want to expand on that. I want to do something more. I want to create something. Put something out into the world. Now, don't get me wrong. Farmers are important. They're one of the most important professions in the world. They keep the world fed, and I appreciate and respect that, and I do my part, and have for a long time now. I just want a little bit more. And I'm sure we can make that happen. Now, I did get pretty well shut out of my fields for the last couple of days. I've told you before, when it rains here, it doesn't rain, it rains. And it rains for a long time. So needless to say, the canola field is still sitting out there, waiting to be harvested. The cotton is now grown and ready to be harvested. And on top of that, Lisbeth asked me in the most kind way that she could muster if I wouldn't plant a field for her today. Which, of course, we worked out a deal on. You know, it's not going to be for free. She is going to pay me. She is loaning me her equipment to get the job done. But I told her that, yes, of course I would do it. Part of the deal is I have to provide the seed because, well, frankly, this job is going to require a lot of seed. A lot of it. And seed on this island is not cheap. It's not cheap at all. And I am going to give this bad boy a try and see exactly what it's capable of. And yeah, one of the nice things that this guy did when he jury-rigged all this stuff together is he actually put a nice trailer hitch on here, so I can haul this trailer down, and with a little bit of luck, I won't need any kind of specialized cotton bale handling equipment like I've needed for those big bales in the past. I've already got this wheel loader, such as it is, and I've had to do some work on it also, which I'll show you a little bit later when we're ready to use it. And our silage is ready to go too. And I've had some thoughts about that, which we'll discuss here in just a little bit also. As far as producing silage, because if I really want to find an alternative to fertilizer, because man, those rollers do a really, really good job, but they're small and they take forever, especially on any field of significant size, which I'm sure you completely understand at this point. Come on, Bubba. Get in there. There we go. I'm just going to pull this trailer over to the side and drop it off. And then we are going to see what this bad boy will do. I already know that he did build GPS into this, and I've also discovered that this field is set at a 135-degree angle, and that's going to help significantly. This is a better view. This tree right here really kind of makes things challenging. So we're going to set our width. We'll set A at 135. I think 135 was right. Fire up this GPS and see what we got here. That looks about right. We're off the edge a little bit, but that's okay. This thing is trucking. Look at that. Between 9 and 10 miles an hour, it's going to crank right up this hill. A little bit of a hill anyway. It's a slope. That's about all you can call it. Not exactly a hill, but a slope. Gonna get some, I'm gonna get a headland pass in here for sure. Just to have some extra room on the ends to turn around. Well, by the end of this row, we should have our first bale. We'll see. Now, as you recall, we talked about pirate captains in the past, and that they did not have absolute authority. They were elected on their ship. There are ships that have documented they've gone through as many as 13 captains in just a few months. The crew of a pirate ship, they had been through too much in their lives to ever give one man complete control of everything about their life and their work and all of that. So they were most definitively very protective of their right. There we go. Our first cotton bale. Check that bad boy out. 10,000 liters of cottony goodness. But there was one time when a captain did have absolute authority, and of course crews had to agree to that too. They set rules. They set the rules, and a captain had absolute authority in combat. You could not question the captain's orders. Once you engaged an enemy, once you saw a prize you wanted to take, the prize being another ship, and once the order was given to go after that ship, the captain assumed command and had absolute authority over the ship. At any other time, a pirate could question the captain's orders, could go to the quartermaster or the council on board ship, could dispute it, but not in combat. And that makes sense. You don't have time to debate during combat. Everybody's working their hardest, moving their fastest, and their lives are at stake. And you have to be able to trust that one guy in combat who's going to lead you in the right direction. But there are plenty of other positions on the ship, not just the captain. And we are going to discuss those a little bit later. For now, I'm going to finish up this cotton, see where we're at, and keep my guys going in the other fields. So we'll catch back up here in just a little bit. tell you, I'm not convinced. Now, don't get me wrong. This thing is quick. It is quick. But it only managed to pull 37,678 liters off this field. And I know that I have been getting 46 to 48,000 liters off the field. That is unacceptable. And I'm sure you can understand exactly why I say that. Because even if let's say I'm losing 5,000 liters per harvest. 5,000 liters per harvest on this field. That is going to cost me a minimum of $10,000 every time I harvest this field with cotton. And I can't have that. I'm not going to throw away $10,000 just for this cheesy thing, so I don't know. I'm going to have to come up with a different solution. And apparently my bales want to roll away. Runaway bale. Got you, sucker. Now, as you can probably see, yes, I've had to do some work on this loader. I had to jury rig a 3-point hitch on the back of it and get some weight back here because, well, everything outweighs this stupid loader. And when I say everything, I mean everything. So, I did manage to get a weight on the back of it. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. It looks funky, but do you have any idea how much these things, and this old piece of junk isn't worth a nickel. But as I've been explaining, this farm is an expensive venture. A very expensive venture. And I can't afford to go out and buy a new loader when I need so many other things to get this, to make my dreams a reality, if you will. Oh, that's good, Harv. Oh, well. It'll go back on. Heck, it'll probably ride better that way than it did the other way. I don't know. Maybe it's time to give up on the idea of cotton. You know, I don't know what my aunt was doing with cotton before, if I'm honest. So she had that equipment on the farm. I thought, hey, cotton's going to be a good product. Haven't done it before. But at this point, I can't keep investing in something just to have the equipment cost me more in processing my field than it pays me. And especially with the small equipment that she left me. And don't get me wrong, I'm not being ungrateful. She didn't even know who I was, and she left me this farm down here, but you know, I've had to jump through some hoops to make it all work properly, and needless to say, it hasn't been the easiest to manage, so maybe it's time to just throw cotton to the wind. That's probably going to be the solution. Give up on the cotton and find another way. There are plenty of crops that'll make plenty of cash, so cotton does not have to be the solution. In fact, I mean, it's made decent money, but it hasn't been great money anyway, so yep, I think it's just see if I either can't get my money back from the dude, or just sell this thing to somebody else. It looks like we're strapped in, so I need to get this back over to the farm, check on my workers, see what they're doing. Actually, I'm going to drop off this this loader, since I've already got it loaded and hooked up. Get back to the farm and drop this off over at the biogas plant, because I want to get that silage taken care of today, at least started. I mean, at least this hunk of junk keeps rocking and rolling down the road, I guess. It's pretty good speed on it. But the speed, even the harvesting speed, isn't worth $10,000 or $15,000 per harvest. Farewell cotton. Hey, we gave it the old college try. God knows we tried. It was okay. You know, if I hadn't given up that other cotton equipment, I'd be willing to give that another try, but it's just too expensive to rebuy it now, so moving right along. And oddly enough, the only good way to get over here is to come back up the road through the farm. Actually, that's probably not true now that I think about it, but that's alright. Looks like these guys in the canola field are doing well. Continuing to truck right along. Now I'll tell you, I've already pulled 80,000 liters of canola off this field. So I guess I shouldn't worry too much about the cotton, simply because, well, I think the big field, canola and the like, is going to be pretty much what I need. It goes off a heck of a lot easier than it goes on, that's for sure. But as you can see here, I have purchased a bucket for this bad boy. Picked it up used. Not hard to find a bucket. We should look real quick. See? Got a veritable forest going in right here. It's going to be lovely. Absolutely fabulous. Those trees need a few more days, but it is what it is. Now, as far as this silage goes, I need to jump out and open this pit. This is a good big bucket too. So this shouldn't take long at all. a little bit high. That's better. Yeah, so this bucket will pull 7,900 liters at a pop. And the tip end to get this stuff processing is just, whew, still a little heavy on the front. That weight is just about right. So yeah, we just tip this in, get that silage processing. It's going to pay us. It won't pay out until midnight, but it is going to pay us, and that's all we care about. And my potato planter needs to be refilled again. It's really burning through my cash reserves to get those potatoes planted. I'm gonna have to talk to Lisbeth about that. So, on board a ship, we were talking about the different people who were responsible, and you know, they were almost always elected. Almost always elected. Occasionally, a captain could appoint somebody to a position. Occasionally, a ship would have a lieutenant, or as they are often called to this day, lieutenant. But they had no real authority, and their only position was that they were the person who would take over if the captain were killed. Which, as you recall, these guys lead rough lives, so it's not out of the question that a captain would be called. But the person who had the most authority aboard a ship, and who was elected also by the crew, was the quartermaster. And quartermasters were responsible for pretty much all the affairs of the ship. That person was responsible for relaying the captain's commands, making sure those commands were enforced, listening to disputes, settling disputes. He was also expected to be the first man to board any ship that they were attempting to pirate. He had a very dangerous job. First man aboard, you never knew who was going to be hiding on that ship or where, and what their intentions might be. Just because the ship said it surrendered didn't necessarily mean that it was an unconditional surrender. There could be people hiding in the hold, in the captain's cabins, you know, pretty much anywhere to come out and jump you and kill you. So quartermaster had to be on deck first. He was responsible for any prize monies that were gained, any loot. He was responsible for making sure that the crew got their shares. He was responsible for the food stores on the ship. So the quartermaster had a really big job. And the crews were very, very picky about who they wanted to be their quartermaster. In fact, we talked early on about Calico Jack Rackham. Jack Rackham first started as a quartermaster. And my understanding is that he was the quartermaster for Charles Vane, who we are going to talk about one of these days because he's considered to be one of the most ruthless pirates during the golden age of piracy. He was a brutal guy. But that's where Calico Jack Rackham got his start. He was quartermaster for Charles Vane. And there were plenty of other positions on pirate ships too that people could take on or be elected to, or sometimes just be skilled. We talked about carpenters already, how important they are. But there's also the sailing master, basically what we would know of today as as a navigator. He's responsible for setting the course, all navigation, but he was also responsible for setting the sails, making sure that they were set appropriately to get the maximum speed out of the ship, or to make sure that the masts stayed safe. Set the sails wrong in the wrong kind of wind and you could end up with a broken mast. So the sailing master was very responsible for the welfare of the ship in general. I don't want to over tip this too much. This is going to stop at 50,000. I think I'm going to hold right there. That'll take care of that. There was the gunner. The gunner was a very important position. I think it goes without saying. Simply because, you know, these are not easy guns to use. I don't know if you've ever seen cannons in operation. They work similar to modern day cannons, just harder. But a gunner knew about elevations, distances, how far a cannon would shoot under how much powder, things like that. He knew what type of shot to use in a given situation. For example, you know what some people don't know is that there are other shots beyond just cannonballs. I mean, cannonballs were standard, but back to cannon shot. So cannon shot, you know, cannonball's obvious, but there was also something called chain shot. And what chain shot was two cannonballs that were linked together by a length of chain. You fire the cannon and it launches it out, and they basically start spinning around each other. But the whole purpose of that chain shot was to take out somebody's sails. So you get that thing flying through the air, you shoot somebody's sails, you start punching big holes in them, slow them down. Once you get them slowed down, you can run circles around them. You can do whatever you want. You can start firing at will. There was also a type of shot, I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what it was called, cluster maybe. Anyway, the balls would explode and launch a whole bunch of shrapnel or smaller balls, and that was intended to kill as many people as possible. Just, you know, it'd be like firing 100 muskets all at the same time, and the balls would just scatter. Maybe it was called scatter shot. Basically like a modern day shotgun, except out of a cannon. Oh, looks like my potato guy's done. Let's see if we actually made any money off of this contract. Oh yeah, that was definitely worth it. It wasn't perfect, but I am ahead by about $35,000 or so. Although I do need to rebuy seed for my farm now. And beyond the gunner and the surgeon, obviously, there was the cook. That might not seem like a terribly important job, being the cook, but, you know, give you guys good food, keep them well fed, and they're going to be much, much happier. I think that kind of goes without saying. Oftentimes, the cook was relegated to someone who was disabled or an older crew member who couldn't fight as well as he used to. But these guys were, you know, for being cutthroat evil dudes, they were very respectful of each other and the people that they worked with. So they did try to find positions for folks even if they weren't able to fight. If they could find one, having a doctor or a surgeon on board was always a good thing. A lot of times if they discovered someone was a doctor or a surgeon, when they took a ship, well, that guy became a pirate whether he wanted to or not. They were in such high demand. And obviously aboard a ship there's going to be plenty of sickness, there's going to be plenty of injuries and wounds, you know, constantly going into battle. That's not to say every ship they took was a fight, but it wasn't uncommon. And these guys didn't, let's just say they didn't frequent the most virtuous of establishments, so disease was an issue on these ships sometimes too. Visiting tropical islands they'd never been to before, things like that. So lots and lots of problems. So a doctor was always a good thing. And something we might not necessarily consider, but was very prized on a ship, were musicians. Again, another party that would find themselves being pressed into pirate service if their talents were discovered. Yep, pirates enjoyed being entertained. So let's see, right now I've got 135,000 liters of canola coming off this field. I would wager a guess that there's maybe another 20 or 30,000 liters still left to be harvested. Going to be a very good canola harvest. Pressing forward, moving ahead. We should have some good cash after this. And it's time to start getting rid of some equipment that I'm not using anymore too, so I'm going to look into that also. Big expenditures on the horizon. Many big expenditures. It's going to cost a lot of money. And we're going to have to find ways to solve those problems. But with that said, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Pirates Bay Farm. If you enjoyed the episode, do me a favor. Remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. I do appreciate you coming along for the ride. And until next time, take care.